Hi, hi friends. Today I'm going to discuss something on transportation in plant. So, in this lecture, we are going to see first point. The first thing which we are going to study here is your transportation. So we have to check transportation of fluid and your solid substance. Second thing we will see here about osmosis and diffusion. Third part we will study about xylem and phloem tissue, which is also called your vascular bundle. In the fourth part we will study about mechanism of transportation. Okay, so let's start with transportation, the first part of the topic, that is transportation. Actually, transportation is required to a cell. If the cell is communicating with environment, communicating in the sense of taking food from the soil, taking nutrient from the soil, taking water from the soil. Here we are discussing about plant, so I will take all things in the context of plant. Okay, then air. So these all things are taken by the cell. So if suppose food is taken by the cell, then cell will do the metabolism such as photosynthesis, respiration and all that. So in due course cell will release some waste product, so that should also be transported throughout the plant body. So that's why this transportation is required. So generally this transportation is triggered or governed, or the main factor which are playing here is your diffusion. Diffusion is nothing, just a random movement of molecules. It's just a random movement of molecules. So random movement means, if we are talking about diffusion, then we have to see one thing, that diffusible particle have kinetic energy. So with the help of this kinetic energy, particles are moving. Like example we can take, suppose you have taken a perfume bottle. So in that perfume, the gas concentration, or we can say the molecule concentration is more there, and they are they have high kinetic energy. So when we press the knob, the all perfume get diffused in the environment, diffused in the room, because here the particles are moving from high concentration to the low concentration. So first example is your perfume bottle, and here I told that particles move from high concentration gradient to low concentration gradient. So this is your diffusion. One more example I'm going to take. Suppose I have taken a two sample, that is your sample A, and this is another sample which I am calling it B. If suppose I have here particles so we are finding that the A sample have more particle with respect to B. So all the particle will move towards the lower region. This is called lower region or low concentration. Okay, so it's very it's a need of a substance, or it's a need of a molecule to move from higher region to the region of higher concentration to the region of the lower concentration. Okay, now there is a slightly difference between osmosis. In osmosis, only water molecule moves, and they are moving from high concentration to low concentration. Through a semi-permeable membrane. Through a semi-permeable membrane. So in osmosis, first thing, it will happen in the living cell because it requires a semi-permeable membrane. Second thing, it will move from a region of high concentration to the low concentration. Only solvent will move. Okay, so here that is valid only for solvent molecule. Okay, now so if we see in the plant, then we can find that plant have they may be smaller and they may be taller. So if we will see the small plant, so osmosis is sufficient to provide the water throughout the shoot system. But in case of higher plants or the taller plants, osmosis is not a only process by which the water and the food material are sent to the other part of the body or the other part of the plant. If osmosis is the only process, then it will be very slow, and we also know about transpiration, which is going on continuously in plant during day summertime. So Osmosis is not sufficient to maintain this gradient or the gap between transportation of water and the removal of water by transpiration. So the next part which we are going to study here, that is your tissue system, that is called your vascular bundle. And in vascular bundle we will see two types of vascular bundle we have in the plant. First is your xylem and another is your phloem. So let me show you one diagram. So this is your phloem cell, xylem, this is your pit, perforated plates are there, this is your tracheids, this is your fiber. Again in the right hand side you can see the phloem cell. So phloem cells contain sieve plates, sieve areas, sieve tubes and one fiber. So we can write that it composed of first part is your vessel, second thing or the second part is your tracheids, third part is your fiber, and the fourth part is your parenchyma. Phloem cell is composed of first part, which is called your sieve tube, another part which is called your companion cell, third part is your parenchyma, and the fourth part is your fiber, also called phloem fiber. Okay, so the next difference we can find here in the case of your xylem and phloem, that xylem will, this is your first, xylem will only conduct water and mineral, but your phloem will conduct organic compounds, and amino acids, then enzymes, hormones, like that. Third thing, the flow of water and mineral in xylem is unidirectional. In unidirectional flow, but in case of phloem it's bidirectional. So I can show this with the help of one diagram here. So we can find that in the xylem vessel the arrow is shown upward, that means the water is going only in one direction from bottom to top, because transpiration is going on, So transpiration will create a pressure, or simply we can say, if water is lost from one cell, then the water concentration will be less in that. So to maintain the water concentration, that cell will take water from the nearby cells. So in due course, if the things is continuously, then it will create a suction pressure which pulls the water to come up. We will discuss it later on. So this shows that your xylem is vessel is your unidirectional and phloem is your bidirectional, because it has to send food to each and entire part of the body, of the plant body. That's why it's bidirectional. Okay, now now come to the mechanism. If we see the mechanism of transpiration, or simply we can say not transpiration, mechanism of your transportation, sorry, mechanism of transportation. So we can find that let me draw one diagram here so that we can clearly understood. Okay, so we can see that root here is your semi-permeable membrane, and they trap the water molecule with the help of osmosis. So we can see, or we can say that transportation of water as well as the minerals is called ascent of sap. Ascent of sap means transportation of water and minerals, that is called ascent of sap. So we can see that the cell wall of each root cell is your permeable to water. Root here have cell wall, and this cell wall is permeable to water and mineral. But the cell membrane and the membrane which is around the vacuole are semi-permeable. Actually, the root cells takes up the mineral ion by active transport. This creates a concentration gradient to the nearby cell. If suppose I am going to draw one diagram here showing that how the cells are receiving water, so it will be clear to you. Suppose this is your root cell. Okay, this is your one cell, this is your another cell, another cell, another cell, and another cell. So this water which is present in soil is taken by this water, by this cell. This is your cell. Then the water concentration will be more here. Then this will give to this cell, to this cell, to this cell, to this cell, like that. So this absorption of water from the soil, this is your soil, is continuously going on. Okay, so it will create a concentration gradient here. Create a concentration gradient by which the water molecules are moving from one cell to another cell, and finally they are going to merge into the xylem tube, xylem vessel. Okay, now so the ions between, so actually here is a concentration gradient between the ions which are present in cell and the ions which are present in soil. So due to the concentration difference of the ions present between soil and the cell, triggers or start diffusing the ions molecule inside the cell, because cell has less ion and your soil has more ions, or simply we can say minerals. So the soil solution has a higher water content than the cell sap of the root hair. Hence, water from the soil diffuses to the root hair. The root hair cell now become turgid. They will become turgid because they have gained the water. So the water concentration is more there. So, and the meanwhile, they will give to the adjacent cell here. Meanwhile, they will transfer, after gaining water, this cell will become turgid. Then this cell will transport the water to the adjacent cell, and finally it will go to the cortex. Cortex is the region where the less water is there, so it will go to the cortex, and the results in this diffusion of water from the root hair into the cortical cell. Finally the water will go directly through this chain into the cortex region where the water concentration is less, but now it's more by diffusion or osmosis. After passing through the cortex cell by osmosis, the water reaches to the endoderm or endodermis in inner part of your stem, where vascular bundles are present. So these are your vascular bundles. Now, so we have, so this water will reach here. After that, the pressure is created, because now all the cells are taking the water from the adjacent cell. So the gap is created. To fulfill that gap, the water is continuously coming inside the root by the process of osmosis, and the pressure is created in the root by which the water is pushed in the xylem vessel. So let me draw one more diagram so it will be clear. This is your xylem vessel. So this was your cell root here. These are your cells. So water is given to each and every cell, and they have reached to the xylem tube, xylem vessel. This is your cortex, inner part. Okay, so now here pressure is created, which push water into xylem vessel, and that push or that pressure is called root pressure. That pressure is called root pressure. By the help of this root pressure, the water is moving upward and forms a column. Now I am showing with a different color. Now with the help of this root pressure, now the water is continuously draining into the another cell, and they have came in channel, and they are moving like this. So the water moving upward to forms a column which is maintained up to certain height. In tall trees, so we can say here that is the very main part of the plant, that your water is moving. I will write here water is moving upward from a column which is maintained up to a certain height due to root pressure. Now if you see this situation in a tall plant, then root pressure is not sufficient to provide water to each and every part of the plant body. But if we see in small plants, root pressure is sufficient to provide water to each and entire part of the plant. But now what is happening actually, I'm just drawing one more structure. Suppose this is your leaf, and this is your column, your stem, and just think I'm drawing the root. This is your shoot part, this is your root part, and your water is sucked by this nearby soils, and now a root, due to help of the root pressure, a column is generated and water reached to up to certain level. Suppose if transpiration is going on, then water will come out. Now think at cellular level, if one cell has given the water out, then to maintain that gap, the water gap, the another cell will give water to the next cell. Again, to maintain the pressure, to maintain this water concentration, the nearby cell will give water to the next, like this. So we can say that with the help of this transpiration, if force is generated within a column by which suction pressure is increased, it's like a hand pump. If you are handling the hand pump, then a air gap is created. With the help of that air gap, when the air gaps comes out, then along with that water also pulled up. So now if cells is releasing water in atmosphere by transpiration, so to maintain its water concentration, that cells take water from the nearby cells, and slowly all adjacent cell will take part in fulfilling the water concentration in the cell. But fully or completely we can see that actually water is getting transported from root to the leaf. So we can say here that transpiration is a main factor. So I will write here the factors which are responsible for transportation of water. First is your transpiration. Second is your cohesive force. Cohesive force means the force between the water molecules. So if one water molecule is holding another water molecule, okay, like this, so all are your water molecule, then it is a cohesive force. Now third force is adhesive force. This force is between column and water. This force is between column and the water. So simply we can say that transpiration is the main factor which helping the plant to maintain its water concentration in the body. So we are seeing here that transpiration is your essential waste full process, because there is no need. So simply we can say that transpiration is essentially wasteful process in which water is evaporated from aerial part of plant. So one and very important factor here is your transpiration, and it's causing Transpiration pull. Transpirational pull. With the help of this pull, the water is reached to each and every part of the body. Thank you.